Welcome to the Lead with Your Soul podcast. I'm Michelle Wright, your host and fellow traveler on this journey of self-discovery. This podcast is designed for women navigating life transitions and yearning to embrace their true selves. I'll be sharing my personal journey from navigating the complexities of divorce and blending families to reshaping my career to something that resonates with my soul. With 3 decades as a teacher and mentor, I'm here to share insights, heartfelt stories, and practical strategies. Together, we'll explore how to cultivate self-love and create the vibrant, fulfilling life you deserve. Join me each week as we dive deep into the art of living authentically. Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of Lead with Your Soul. My name is Michelle Wright, and I'm truly honored and excited to have you join me on this journey. Today marks the beginning of a shared path where we explore the depths of our souls and find guidance within ourselves during these transitional phases of our lives. For many of us, change can feel like an overwhelming storm that just uproots our foundation and challenges our sense of identity. It's in precisely these times of upheaval that our souls whisper to us the most important, profound truths and guidance. It's in these dark times we learn so much. This podcast, much like my YouTube channel, is a sanctuary for those whispers. A place where you can pause, reflect, and connect with your own innermost self. What can you expect from the Lead with Your Soul podcast as you continue to tune in and listen, and we expand and explore and move forward? I'm going to be sharing my own personal stories and bringing in guests. We're going to be sharing about the transitions in our own lives, what we've learned, the skills that we've developed, and how we've moved forward. I'm going to be sharing monthly soul messages using my tarot and oracle cards. This is a place where you can listen and connect with the divine universe source, whatever is the best for you to think of, and just find what resonates and will help you move forward or find solace and healing on your own journey. I'm going to be doing monthly moonology sessions. I'm going to bring a guest on, my good friend Charlene. I know for myself that connecting to the cycles of the moon, just to that cyclic approach of what I need to let go, what I need to bring in, was so helpful. Charlene's going to dig deeper into that, helping us look at, with the moon each month, where we can start new. What are the nuances that will help us? As I grow this podcast series, I know that it will move, shift, and change with your needs and my needs. I'm so excited to start this journey with you. And I'm just so grateful you're here. And I can't wait to see the connections that we're going to form along the way. So grab your favorite cup of tea, find a comfortable space, and let's take this first step together, soul to soul. In today's episode, I'm going to be sharing one of my own transformational stories. An experience that shook my world, started me on my journey of alignment, what I wanted in my life and my true purpose. And you may find, like me, that what was most chaotic at that time really paved the way for my soul's clarity and strength today. I'm going to start at the beginning, where I began to listen to my soul, even though it was so painful to do so, and it rocked my world. My hope is that as I tell you these stories, first of all, you don't feel alone, that you know someone else has been there, you know someone else is with you. I hope you know that life transitions are so difficult. There's ones that leave you free falling. There's ones that leave you decimated. and it's hard and you have to move into yourself. I'm hoping mostly that you find pathways to self-empowerment to create the life you really want. My story is around my divorce. I'm going to pull just a few threads out. There's many threads around any transition that comes in your life. But I recognize that not all of them need to be told at the same time. The first thread that I'm going to be talking about is just recognizing the difficulty of that transition of divorce. And what are some of the things that you can do to take care of yourself? Another thread is in that journey of hope and healing. What can you do? What's important to make sure that you can start to develop that self-love, self-compassion, and self-forgiveness that can allow you to rise again, dream again, and imagine again? And the last thread that I want to talk a little bit about is, especially if you have kids, how do you stay in love and not fall into anger and victimhood and bitterness? When I was divorcing, I had 2.5-year-old twins, two boys, and there was a series of events that I knew it was time to divorce. We had tried a lot of things to make our relationship work, but it was just continuing along the lines where we were actually going to be destroying each other. I knew that this just wasn't in the best interest for myself, for my husband, and most importantly, our kids. I think the most difficult point, because I absolutely loved their dad. There was a piece of me that just loved him, and I loved the idea of us being together as a family. It's really hard to recognize that you can have love, but the relationship at that time was toxic for everyone involved. It was a hard thing for me to accept. I needed to recognize that I needed to change and move forward. Another piece that threw me into a spiral was as you move into divorce and you start splitting everything up, financial debt and spiraling out of control. I remember it was at this time I was at the grocery store with my dad and I went to use my bank card and there was nothing. Bills had come out, things had gone out, and there was nothing left. I needed to let my dad pay for my groceries. That was so hard. It was difficult. Thank goodness my kids weren't with me. And my dad just looked at me and said, "It's okay. I've got you." And I paid him back. It worked out. That is a thread I'm going to talk about, building a network. It's so important. It was difficult being a parent and feeling decimated as a woman. That was really hard. We had just gotten a chocolate lab. So the chocolate lab is 3 months old. I have my 2.5-year-old twins and we go to the park and I'm like, I can do this. This is good. Well, I have my 2.5-year-olds running in different directions. It's just absolute chaos. I'm tired from my day at work because I've showed up, I did the best at work, and I'm trying to show up and be the best at home. The dog is barking, pulling me. I'm trying to get the kids and I'm being pulled this way. The dog's pulling me that way. It was just total bedlam. I just started crying. I'm just like, how am I going to do this? This isn't going to work. And just recognizing this huge mountain that I was about to climb in so many different ways. We had supper and went to bed early. Another piece about divorce that was so hard is you're just embarrassed. You're embarrassed that it didn't work out. You're embarrassed you failed. You're embarrassed to tell the people you love, the people who, gave you wedding gifts, everybody, yeah, this isn't working. We had to hold it together at work. I felt like I could hold it together at work, but it was hard coming home. It was hard. I think the hardest thing actually was the silence of the nights. I just remember the kids are asleep and the silence of the night. I'm alone. My dreams that weren't there anymore. It was just that eerie silence. And I just didn't know what to do with it. And in the beginning, it was mostly about surviving physically, emotionally, financially, spiritually, as a mother, as a career woman. And it was really about prioritizing survival and prioritizing my children and making it through. I think the first thing, recognizing if you're going through this or any transition, is that divorce is hard, transition is hard. It is moving you from one part of your world to another part of your world. The problem is you don't know where you're going. If you're anything like me, I'm a bit of a control freak, so I like to know where I'm going. I'm a goal setter. I like to know what's going to happen to me. And here you are, just in this moment of not knowing. You just know you're in a moment of deep grief. So everything you read about grief is happening to you. You're going through all these phases of grief, anger, frustration, numbness. You're going through learning how to accept it and how to move forward. At this point in time, when you're in the survival piece of any transition, be it divorce, loss of a loved one, loss of a job, even moving into more positive things like retirement, you need to recognize that there's a certain amount of grief and transition that's happening at this time. So you have to honor yourself. This isn't something that you can easily push through. Yes, you have to prioritize and work through your life. Fair enough. But you need to have deep self-love, deep self-compassion. And I mean holding your hand on your heart and looking in a mirror and saying, I love you. What you're going through is really hard, and I'm going to love you through it. I found for me another piece that I really needed was to have deep self-forgiveness, forgiving myself for what I knew now, for the choices I had done. It's that hindsight is 2020, and why didn't I do this? Why did I do that? Why? And really looking at that and just sitting in love and self-forgiveness. So that's the first thing as you go through something like this. You just need to take that time to love yourself, recognize the pain, recognize that it's hard, recognize that this is a moment of the dark night of the soul, and you're going to be crawling through it. You're going to be slowly moving through it. It's not easy, and you're not going to be the same as you get out the other end. The next thing that I found was so important was to find ways to bring in hope and healing. I did this first by recognizing I needed a network. I needed people that would help me. I was very independent, so I wasn't the type of person that reached out and said, oh, can you help me? And I recognized for the first time in my life that it was essential for myself and therefore my children, that in order for me to develop hope and healing and get on this pathway to a life that I really wanted to live, I had to let people in and I needed to ask for help. So I had close friends. I asked for help. The story with my dad is recognizing that with my parents, I asked for help and I allowed them to help me in my time of need. If you've ever been in this spot, really being in a space of need and asking someone to help you, it is the hardest thing you're going to do. It's easier to ask for help when you don't really need it, and it's harder when it's the difference between you making it or not. I think one of the next things in that hope and healing is that network. For me, it was also recognizing part of my healing needed to be getting professionals. So that meant professionals needed to be a lawyer. What did that look like? Didn't like going through that. And financially, it's difficult, but you have to help yourself through that. Getting a psychologist. I needed to get into therapy. I needed to find a way towards healing and hope and positivity in my life. I needed that. And it was essential because at that point, I was angry, I was frustrated, and I think I was going to be making choices that would have actually hurt my children in my anger. Instead, with the psychologist, I was able to really process a lot of negative feelings, which allowed me to make really positive choices for my children. I think something that I didn't know then, but I know now, and I didn't know about it at that time. So for me, one of the things that I know when I'm going through these deep, dark nights of the soul, these transitions from one point to another point in my life, is that I become really dense. What I mean by that is I literally become dense, eat lots and lots of dense foods. I gain weight. I actually don't move off of a couch. I become very, very dense. That's what I recognize for myself. I'm getting better at, not always, but recognizing when I'm in my dense part. I've learned that healthy eating, find ways to either meal prep, get yourself eating healthy, because that is essential. Now, I'm an eater. Some people actually start starving themselves. So you have to figure out for you what the thing is. These are actually called the 4 pillars of mental health. They're the foundations that everybody can do. And so one of them is really getting good food, meal prepping. The next thing is connection, and that's that networking. Make sure you have a connection to people. And if you find yourself isolating yourself, that is a red flag. It's a red flag for depression. It's a red flag for not being able to get into that hope and healing and move forward. Be compassionate about it. This isn't about belittling yourself. It's about compassion, but recognizing that you need to make choices that help you connect. Maybe connect with professionals that will help you, connect with loved ones that will help you, your friends and family. Another thing that you need to do is find ways to sleep. Believe it or not, sleep is another way that we process our emotions, our feelings. It's at this time that I started listening to books on tape just to stop my mind. I would go to sleep listening to a book on tape. It just allowed me to focus my mind instead of all the things I was worried about or stressed about. It allowed me to focus and live into a story. So I don't know what yours is to help you get that, but that's another piece that's really important when you're going through any transition. And for me, another aspect was spirituality. And I don't know what spirituality is for you. For me, I leave it open. Divine, universe, source, spirituality, that sense of bigger than you that is connected. And I did that for me through angel cards. My mom had a set of angel cards, and I actually remember the first one was cancel and delete. What I found is that it helped guide me. It helped me start to imagine a way forward where I couldn't, because in the darkness, it's really hard to know forward. I didn't know what forward was. I didn't know where to go forward. The cards gave me some ideas, and they really sparked ideas of how I could move forward. And the cancel and delete was really about recognizing what I needed to let go of. What was I still holding on to? Was I holding on to self-loathing because I made these choices? How could I make these choices? I had to really find a way to move into self-love, and that was hard. So angel cards really helped me with that. I don't know for yourself what that might be. Finding a connection, a way to move forward. Another thing that I recognize, and it is in the 4 pillars of health, is moving. It's in exercise. So remember how I said I get dense? One of the ways that I process information is by moving my body. And sometimes it was just actually going for a walk. But sometimes, 2.5-year-old kids, the dog, blah, 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 you just get for a walk. You just put them in the wagon, and I would just start to walk. So start to move your body. One of the things that I did and that I think was so important for me is I had a huge realization with the boys and their dads. We were offered a course on divorce. And one of the things they showed us was this triangle. And this triangle showed, okay, you have the kids, and then you have the husband and wife, mom and dad. And it showed that the husband and wife was no longer, but that mom and dad, that triangle was still there and was going to be there forever. I recognized that though I was divorcing my husband and we would no longer be together in that way, he would always be in my life. I had another realization that was extremely powerful for me. I was thinking, I love my children so much. I would give them a kidney if they needed it. I would give them any body part if they needed it. And if I needed, I would die for them. I would die for my children. Then it dawned on me. You know what, Michelle? You do not need to do anything so heroic as die or give up a kidney. You need to treat your boy's dad with love, dignity, and respect. Because my 2.5-year-old boys thought that their dad jumped the highest, was the strongest, and was the best man in the world. My boy's father and I found a way to try and heal as people, but came together as parents. So as parents, we stayed in the role of parents as mom and dad and really tried to continue moving forward. So this would be 22 years ago. And in that 22 years, their dad has always come for Christmas. 11 years ago, I remarried, and he still comes and stays at our house with our family. And that's a whole other story about blending. But is it a story about the importance of coming together for your children? I do need to tell you that there was one point where I said, this is crazy. I am done with this. I do not need this. And that's where it was helpful as an educator, because I was sitting in class and I had these teenagers, and, we're getting ready for Christmas break. And it's like, oh, aren't you looking forward to Christmas? And I had a couple of them saying no. I'm like, well, why not? Why wouldn't? What's going on? What's up? And they're like, oh, well, my parents are divorced and it's just going to be this fight for me and my attention. So I have to spend the morning here, the night there, here, and I'm just being shoved back and forth, back and forth. Actually, I just wish we didn't have Christmas. It would be so much easier. And I knew right then I would never stop having my boy's father over for Christmas. This was a non-negotiable. This was something that I, as a loving mother, remember, I don't have to give up my kidney, but I do need to give up some sense of control. So for you might be going through different points of transition. Maybe it is divorce. Maybe it is any of the other ones, career shifts, blending families, retiring. I think it's important first to just recognize how hard it is when you're in a deep night of the soul and transitioning from one to the other. Often we look at transformation. The biggest symbol is the butterfly. So we have the caterpillar that is one complete different thing that goes into a chrysalis. And actually within that chrysalis becomes absolute goop, meaning nothing. It's just goop. There's no form. And then they form into the butterfly and they have to break out of the chrysalis, which is so difficult. So think of your transformation. Where are you? Are you still at the caterpillar, knowing that you have to move into the goop? Are you in the goop? Are you struggling to get into the butterfly? Wherever it is, have deep self-love. Look in that mirror. Deep self-compassion and self-forgiveness. Be kind to yourself. Transformation is difficult. Look at a video of a butterfly, because being goop is hard. I'm so glad that you came. Thank you for coming to my Lead with Your Soul podcast and becoming part of my community, and knowing that you're not alone in any of the transitions you take, because together we can make a difference in our own lives and move towards living authentically. I'm going to ask you, if you can, take a moment, subscribe, or share this with someone who you know might benefit from it. If you want, connect with me on Instagram and on Facebook. I'll put the links in the show notes. Until next time, keep listening, keep loving, and most importantly, keep leading with your soul. That wraps up another episode of the Lead with Your Soul podcast. I'm so grateful you chose to spend this time with me. As you navigate your own life transitions, remember to be gentle with yourself and embrace the journey. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe and share it with others who might benefit. Join me next week for more insights and inspiration. Until next time, keep leading with your soul.